Hey there. Are you 60 and over like I am and you're either planning or in retirement? Well, I am entering my third year as a solo nomad and I haven't paid rent in all that time. So I am here today to give you 4 ways that you can get comfortable on solo travel if that's something you want to explore. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, this is Barbara Talisman from Where's BabZ. Since 2021, I've been traveling from the US to Mexico to Australia and back. Slow traveling, which means I stay someplace 2 to 6 months and I'm traveling solo. It's called a solo nomad. I have no permanent home and I haven't paid rent since I've been on the road. So talking about solo travel, this is a biggie. There's a lot of discomfort in being alone anywhere, let alone in a foreign country or even outside of your own city. So getting used to walking around solo and just observing what's going on and taking it all in and being present is what solo travel is all about. Just focusing on where you are at the moment. And don't worry about anybody else. They're not looking at you. They don't care. They're just enjoying the day as well. So I'm going to give you some tips today on how to get started to see if solo travel is something that you're comfortable or you can get comfortable doing. Because once you've opened that door, you can go anywhere and do anything. So 4 tips for going solo, and I'll go through each of them. And there'll be a PDF on my website, where'sbabz.com, because there's a lot of information here. So you don't have to write it down, and you can go to the website and pick it up. It's a free PDF. First one is start local. You don't have to go very far to start traveling solo. Determine how long you want to stay away, how far do you want to go, and what's your travel budget for this first trip. We're going to talk about travel planning resources that are available to you online and in person, and start talking about house sitting to see if that's something that you like. There's a bonus at the end, so make sure you stay tuned. So let's start with local travel. In your neighborhood, in your community, in your county, or your state, just look at areas in your community that you might be wondering or wanting to explore. It could be a local park, it could be a campground, it could be a spa, it could just be a waterfall that you've been wanting to go see. All of that could be solo traveled. And what I mean by solo travel is going alone. No one is with you, but doesn't mean that you can't meet people, strangers or not, along the way. But you're going to do this by yourself. You can look for free local opportunities. Maybe there's a museum a little farther away, or a park, a national park, or a state park a little farther from home that you'd like to go visit, even for the day, like the whole day. Leave early, drive there, enjoy a few hours, have some lunch, and come back. Museums often have art drawing in the galleries, and they provide you with all of the materials, and that's free. In Puerto Vallarta, I took Spanish lessons online because of COVID and in person once we could do that again, and I met a lot of people that way. Even when I'm traveling and I'm a solo traveler, there are local things that I do in the community that I've chosen to live in as a slow traveler, and then there are other activities that I take part in that are a little farther away. Solo, if you're thinking about being a solo traveler, look at your area. Maybe you want to do a 25-mile, 50-mile, or 100-mile circumference from your home and see if there's something that's drivable for you and that you can figure out where it is that you want to go. And I'm going to get to travel resources so you don't have to figure it out all on your own. So stay tuned. The second thing you want to determine when you're going to travel solo is what will be your travel budget. I balance free stuff with stuff that I pay for. And so you can find lots of those opportunities. Do you want to travel for a day, a weekend, or a week? So decide how long you'd like to try this out. Do you want to stay in a hotel? Do you want to house sit? Maybe you want to visit a friend. That's fine. You're still getting there solo. Or just take a day road trip. I look for free opportunities all the time. So the museums, as I mentioned before, there can be farmers markets or county fairs or writing groups and quilting circles. So there are lots of opportunities that you can look for, and you can find them in the newspaper or at a community art centers. When I house sit, I always join a local Facebook group and look for the local independent newspaper or something online that talks about all the events that are going on. And that goes from farmers markets to quilting to new museum exhibit openings, all sorts of things. And so I kind of get a sense of the community before I get there. And if there's special events coming up during the time I'm there, I make sure I mark them on my calendar. I use my iPhone a lot when I go to events and when I'm doing things because it makes me look busy. and I try and be very artistic with the photos, and I'll share them on my socials, but it's sort of a little bit of a comfort zone for me to just be taking pictures. Into a food event, which you can often find me at, and we're standing in line, I'll also often talk to the person in front of me or behind me. So I find conversations with a lot of strangers. Now, I'm an extrovert, so that works for me, and I know not everybody's comfortable at that, but when you're in an area or an event and people come together, having a conversation is pretty easy because you have that interest. Whether it's quilting or the art or the food, you have something in common. Again, all of this information is going to be at where'sbabz.com, so you can download it. So travel planning resources, tip number 3. So if you're a member of AAA, you can always go in and they can do a trip plan for you. Tell them where you want to go, or even help you find some place to go, and let you know local hotels or Airbnbs or even tours that you can join. So don't hesitate, if you're a AAA member, to go and use those resources. And you can do it online or in person. I think these days, post-COVID, you've got to make an appointment at your AAA office, but if you're planning ahead, that shouldn't be a problem. I also check out TripAdvisor and Lonely Planet just to see what's going on in a city. They'll show you what the tours are with all of the reviews. They'll also give you ideas of things to do or places to go. You can actually plan the whole thing there, including hotel and the tour and all of that information there. And there are also reviews from fellow travelers, and you can actually filter by solo. So people who have traveled solo will give you their opinion as a solo traveler as to whether the location and the tours were good for a solo traveler. Like, I don't really like being on a sunset tour where I am the only solo person, everybody else is couples having a romantic sunset. Yeah, I don't need to do that. I can find a beautiful high rise and get a beautiful sunset either by myself or having a cocktail at the rooftop. So things like that make a difference when you're solo. There are also a ton of websites and Facebook groups about us folks over 60, women, mixed groups, whatever, and they talk about travel. Solo nomads, senior nomads, traveling solo women, there's lots of them. And many people will post and either say, I'm either starting to solo travel or I've been solo traveling, and they'll share their tips and tricks with you. So I really kind of mine the online life to see what's going on and where people are going and what their experiences were. So don't hesitate to take a look there before you start planning. They might give you some great ideas. Other thing that you can do to really keep your budget in line is to house sit. As I've mentioned many of my videos, and you can watch my videos on house sitting and how I lived for free in Puerto Vallarta, but the house sitting really lowers my cost of travel. And the great way to start on it is locally. So there's an app called Trusted House Sitters. There's a link with a discount in the description below, and you can start local, which is how I did it. And you can look for house sits in your neighborhood or beyond your neighborhood, totally up to you. You're usually taking care of cats and dogs, so you can decide and filter which animals you want to take care of and how many days. It could be a weekend, it could be a week, it could be a month, and you can just give it a try. You do have to set up a profile, get some references on there, and that can take you probably a week to get that all going. And there is a cost to joining, so you can look around before you want to join. The referral code will give you 25% off, but if it's something you think you want to try, it might be worth trying it locally, and you could do that on and off for the next month. You could do it on and off for the next 6 months and see if house sitting is something that you would be comfortable sleeping in someone else's bed, taking care of someone else's home and their pets. And if that's not for you, then that's fine. But I always recommend that when people want to start house sitting, they start local. That way you don't find yourself in some far-flung community or city that you've traveled a long way to in a house that you're not comfortable in, or in a situation that you're not comfortable in. So I recommend you look at the house sitting videos that I already put up on my channel. It'll give you some idea of how you go about applying and questions to ask. Don't forget about downloading the PDF at where'sbabz.com, and you can subscribe to my blog and my podcast as well as to this YouTube channel, and make sure you look at the playlist on house sitting. Thanks for watching.